Hi, I want to go over the parts of the sock machine when you receive them. After you've unpacked all the tape and paper, this is the mess you're going to be left with. I just thought I'd point out a couple of the important parts. This is your machine. The cylinder that is in it is your 72 cylinder. And you can see the gear that is called the gear ring. All these parts are listed in the manual. This is your yarn carrier. We will be attaching that to the machine. These three parts are your yarn stand. It's a little fussy to set up, but it works very, very well, and we'll go over how to do that. This is your crank wheel. Okay, and this next part is your ribber. This whole assembly is your ribber. This piece back here is your ribber dial, and this is what is called the tappet plate. This other cylinder is your 54 cylinder. These two items are your weights to hold down the work evenly. Here's your 100 grams of sock yarn. These rather bizarre looking things are your heel forks, and you'll see in the Norma Borgen video exactly how to use those. This is your pick. This is what's called a stubby screwdriver, and I'll show you exactly what that's used for in the next segment. This is your buckle. This odd contraption goes with your bobbin. And this is one method used to wind yarn for use with your sock machine. I will not go over how to do that. That is in the original manuals, and you can look there. The metal bars in this piece is a skein winder. Again, that's all in the manual. And over here, pretty much the last piece that we have, last two things that we have here are your cylinder needles. You see, notice how they're much longer than your ribber needles. And I'll show you how those work too. And this is onion bag. And that is probably the nicest modern invention dealt with sock machines you're going to have. And we're going to turn off the tape, and I'm going to start setting up and show you how to put this whole thing together.
Okay.
Okay, as you see here, I have my work table all set up. This is a Black & Decker Workmate, and I have put a piece of paper down because there are holes that I don't want things to slip through. Also gives me a convenient writing place if I want one. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your machine, I'm going to flip it up on its head, undo these screws a little bit. This is pretty heavy, so you want to have it supported the whole time you're using it, either in your lap, on a piece of carpet, or something. You drop this, it's all over. It's basically hardened steel and cast iron. It's pretty heavy. So you're going to take this, now I got them loosened up, I'm going to attach it to the stand and tighten the bolts. Now you can see that I didn't center it on the stand. That's because once the crank handle goes on, my hands hit this little wheel, and that's uncomfortable.
Okay.
A couple of the tools you're going to need is you're going to need a flathead. You're going to need a flathead screwdriver, and you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. First, you are going to unscrew this screw, and that's what's going to hold your handle on. You're going to take your handle, and you see this part right here? This is where the yarn carrier is going to go.
Okay, go ahead.
This is your yarn carrier. Right here, this piece. What you want to do is you want to take your ribber dial, and when you install it, you want that yarn carrier right here in the middle. Either this side in the middle or this side in the middle. Because if you don't do that, you're going to knock it with the handle, or you could potentially knock it with the weight. It just makes it nice and even. So I'm going to just put that on right now.
That's the crank handle, not the rubber handle.
Mm-hmm. That's what I said.
You said rubber.
Do what I do, not what I say. All right? And just tighten it. And you just want to snug it down. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to manhandle it. And then once you get it screwed in, crank it around, you'll see it goes nice and smooth. Okay. Before we get started with the ribber needles, what I want to do is show you what this incredibly clever little device is for. In here is your ribber adjuster. And if you look deep inside, you'll see there's a little screw. And if you use a regular screwdriver, you can't get there. It doesn't work. So you take this wonderful little stubby little thing, and you can tighten that screw up. Not tight, but just enough so it doesn't fall out. You know, see how it's a little loose? And really all you want is the ribber dial, the bottom part, look inside. The bottom part you want to be inside here. You see the little ridge, emptiness? Where my finger is, that's where you want that piece to be. And now that we have it cranking nice and smooth, and before we put the yarn carrier on, we're going to start putting in needles, and we're going to check it to make sure everything functions correctly. And because I know I'm going to use the ribber knit later, I'm only going to put in every other needle. So I'm going to put in one needle and watch it work. See how the needle goes up? It's working great. And we're going to keep going. 2 needles. And continue. I'm going to keep doing this, and then when we come back, I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, when you get to this point, and your V-cam is there, you're going to find that putting in your needles, it's not going to work. They're going to go down. And that's because your cams are in the way. All you do is move the machine around, and then you continue putting them in. Slide them in butt first, use your finger, put them in. They snap right in, it's very quick if you do it right. Or not. You can see that they're lifting up, everything's working beautifully.